माणसांना ओळखणं आणि त्यांच्या मनामध्ये आपली चांगली प्रतिमा निर्माण करणं सोळंकेला चांगलंच जमलं होतं. त्यामुळे त्याच्याबद्दल कोणाला संशय आलाच नाही आणि त्याच्या विकृतीलाही कोणाचा अडसर निर्माण झाला नाही.
Hello, play my favorite song.
या केससाठी मेडल मिळालं होतं मला. आता असं वाटतंय की माझी लायकीच नव्हती.
Okay, wow. I think that looks very exciting. So, Salil, to begin with, why don't you tell us about how it, what does it take to come up with an exciting detective/murder mystery series like that?
Well, basically, what's happened is that throughout the history of detective fiction, for a long time it's been who done it. Okay, so I think one of the things which has changed, and one of the things which makes it much more exciting, is if you turn it into a why done it. Okay, the who done it is exciting, no doubt.
Absolutely.
But the thing is that the world has changed so much. We are exposed to a world where we are always clashing with somebody else or the other, and we don't know what step of ours can lead to some kind of a problem.
Else, yeah.
What goes on in people's mind is impossible to predict, and therefore I think the first thing that needs to be done is that today's mystery books need to be why done it. That is one.
Why,
That's what
yeah.
I do. The other thing is the title of this session: bodies, suspects, alibis, and clues. I mean, this is what sums up a good murder mystery. Is unless they are bodies, people are not going to get hooked. The moment they are bodies, they are going to be suspects. Those suspects cannot be cardboard suspects. You cannot say, okay, there are some 7 suspects and I have to eliminate some of them. So they need to be suspects with meat. Yeah. Alibis, very important. Because everybody is going to claim that I wasn't there. I wasn't the one who's done it. I have an alibi. And finally, of course, for the detective to find out who committed things or why it was done, clues. So that is how it suspects. So these are the 4 elements of a good murder mystery, according to me.
Okay, yeah. So I think the title definitely gives it away. But having said that, there's still kind of a lot more to it, right? I mean, how did you, like, for example, how would you come up with the character of Inspector Saralkar? Because he has to have this, something of his own as a detective, and also be able to solve these complex mysteries. So how did you come up with that character and decide what you're going to make this detective differently?
What is it that makes a detective different? What is it? There's one person. There's an inspector, or there's a policeman, or there's a detective, or there's a sleuth, a private sleuth.
A private detective.
Now all of them are solving a murder. Now what is it that makes it different? What is it that makes your detective different from somebody else's detective? I think that is one of the things that I noticed is most good detective stories work in a setting, and secondly, it is that particular mix of people who are brought up in that setting. Okay, that is what actually makes a good murder mystery and a good detective. A character that somebody else cannot claim to be their own. Okay. No other city, for example, Saralkar, Inspector Saralkar and PSI Motkar, who's his assistant, they can only be from Pune.
They can only be from Pune.
They
Absolutely.
cannot be from anywhere else.
Yeah.
And the city, Pune city has certain elements,
Unique
certain
attributes, yeah.
darkness, certain possibilities, which are not available elsewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's a particular way of speaking, and I think that is what defines the development of a good character who appeals to people. The moment you come up with something which is unique to a city, and a character who speaks like nobody else, who behaves like nobody else can,
Yeah.
he or she appeals to a wider audience.
Right.
Because that wider audience has still not been exposed
To that type of
that
character.
particular city.
Yeah.
And they get a certain kind of thrill, a certain kind of newness in this new character. And that's how I developed Inspector Saralkar. Inspector Saralkar, according to me, is a maverick. Most detectives are mavericks.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So this detective has to be a different kind of a maverick who has his own way of behaving and acting under different circumstances. So Inspector Saralkar is a product of Pune. He's a bit of me. He's a bit of a lot of people I've met. His appearance is like somebody I know very well. His surname is belongs to somebody I know very well. So that's the way he's been created.
Sorry. Yeah. So that's, I think, very. It's fascinating that what you're saying is it's also so it's characters in a particular setting. So it's different range of characters, and also the setting of Pune has given it that flavor, right? I mean.
Right. I mean, for example, Sherlock Holmes. I mean, can you think of Sherlock Holmes
Can't
outside
picture
London?
anywhere outside London. Absolutely.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
And when he travels, he's taking London with him into the
Into the
country,
other
so to
locations,
say.
yeah.
So therefore, he's always there. Similarly,
So like
let's say a Hercule Poirot.
Yeah.
Can you think of him as somebody
Yes.
who is not a Belgian,
Not-
and yet
yeah.
a Belgian who is sort of
Yeah.
living in London?
Living in London and speaking French every so often. So yeah, I think that's just to understand a little bit on that front, because Pune is not as well captured in our fiction as much, right? So what aspects of Pune did you want to put? Of course, there has to be some of the dark aspects, considering it's a murder mysteries. But is there anything that you went in your mind that I want to capture this? It's a book about Pune, so I should also talk about X, Y, and Z. Did you have anything in your mind about that?
No, I haven't really thought of that. What happens is that I've created this character, and this character, wanders around Pune.
Yeah.
And there are lots of characteristics of Pune that reflect through him.
True.
And
Correct. Okay.
so it's not as if I've decided that, okay, in this particular book, I will talk of, let us say, Bedekar Misal. It just doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
It's just that,
That
okay,
will-
he's awake at 5:30. He just finished, going to the crime site.
Yeah.
And then he suddenly has this urge to have misal.
Okay.
Or he
So then
suddenly
you-
has this urge to, have tea.
That's a fairly typical
Amrutulya
Pune thing.
chai. So that's the way you
That's-
introduce
yeah,
things.
weave
It's not
into
as
the
if,
narrative.
okay, I want to talk about Amrutulya, so I'll do this.
I'm going to
That
introduce
kind of
it
thing.
in. Yeah, absolutely. It has to be
Even various
organic.
locations within Pune, they come to you. Okay, now I want this kind of a thing to happen to my victim. Which is the best place that this can happen? And therefore,
The research
I go to
comes
that
in.
particular location. I decide, okay, I've seen this particular park. Wow, this park is perfect.
Ideal for it.
Why don't
yeah.
I use this? I've lived in Kothurud for a number of years of my life. So, I can see this kind of a flat. Okay, where do I find this? Okay, Mahatma Society. So I'll go there
Go there
and do
and
it.
research.
Pune camp.
Yeah.
This is where it is. So why don't I place my body here?
In this kind of place.
That's the way I go about
Yeah.
it.
So I think that's a great way of incorporating the city into the fiction. I mean, one gets to read about the city. So people like I'm in Pune itself, but those who are not based in Pune get to learn about it also. So one thing is, these are, you know, essentially the murder mysteries are, they're kind of like police procedurals.
Right.
And this is a fairly popular genre abroad. You know, the police procedural is a completely different, highly best-selling genre, and your series is as well. But how different is it, you know, in India, the police procedural, as compared to, you know, any of the foreign authors that we might be reading? Because I think we know the processes might be different. You know, there's a little aspect of corruption maybe weaving in. So how different is that police procedural?
I think what happened is that whatever little I had, whatever books I had read about police procedurals in India, written by Indian authors, etc., etc., I found some things very common. Policemen are supposed to keep on abusing, using 4-letter words and 3-letter words, and all of them are corrupt, and all of them have this sliminess attached to them, etc., etc. Or if you look at some of the police procedurals which have come on OTT platforms these days, you see this some kind of darkness of soul, and then there is this one guy who rises above it, etc. I didn't want that.
Absolutely.
I thought that in the process of trying to show how rotten the police force in India are, that was not my objective at all, because I don't think they are all that rotten.
Absolutely.
There are enough people who have been doing stuff.
Yeah.
So I decided, look, I'm not going to get into this. I'm going to bring it in wherever necessary, but I'm going to focus on the process. And the process in India has its quirks, has a lot of shortcomings, has a lot of problems at various stages. But I decided that I'm going to get these two guys together. I am going to go through the process, however difficult it is, use the glitches in the process to my advantage.
Correct.
So, for example, if I want to delay a clue, I can easily delay it in the Indian context, because it's going to take some time. Okay, a postmortem done badly. Okay, so you use that to your advantage, basically. Take a story a little forward, or take a twist in your story, that kind of thing. So this is why I've done it. I think the problem is that the image of the police in Pune, in India is not that good. So I wanted to, I didn't want to give them more of the same.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, you always have these top officers who,
they're already doing a thankless job,
that kind of thing. And I didn't want that. And yet I didn't want to run away from what is actually happening on the ground. But the thing is that murders do get solved. Various crimes do get investigated. And I'm not saying that there's a fantastic rate of detection or something like that. But it's not as if it's terrible.
The work is getting done, and it's probably maybe as per.
And obviously, there are people of integrity, people who are mavericks, people who know how to play that system.
Yeah, exactly. So the video clip we saw at the beginning, that was really exciting. So how you are yourself writing the screenplay for that, and yourself also you've written the book. So how different was it? I mean, there are completely two different forms of writing the book as well as the screenplay. So how, what kind of experience of it or was it for you to, write the screenplay for the book that you've written?
One, I had to look at it with a sense of detachment, that, okay, now I need to convert this story into something that is going to be played on screen. So how would it be more effective? How can I make it visually more effective? How do I use the the particular grammar of this particular medium to enhance the story, the characters, etc., etc. What are the devices that I need to use? These are the things that went through my mind. Plus, it was supposed to be a web series. So the web series has a certain number of, there's a certain structure. For example, at the beginning, you need to have a hook. At the end, you need to have a hook. Okay, in the middle, you need to have sufficient, doubt needs to be created. Sufficient action needs to be given for people to decide that they want to continue with this particular thing. So these were the thoughts that I had. Plus, it actually helped me in the sense that the number of things that I added during the screenplay. I used to keep on wondering, what if I had added this in the book? The book would have become more interesting. So,
so you got a chance to add
it was
things.
actually a chance to work again in the same this thing on the same story, and that I think was exciting in itself. So I sort of managed it, and I'm happy that I did it. I also had a co-writer called Yashodhan Kelkar, who helped me with this particular thing. So I think it really worked well.
Right.
He looked more at the sort of the formatting, and I looked more at how do I make it more exciting.
So I think that's a huge difference, right? Because in the book you have the luxury of continuing the story, and people will give you, readers may give you that leeway, right? Breathing room to, you don't have to have it so episodic as it is in a web series where, as you mentioned, you have to start with a hook, you have to end with a hook, you have to have a meaty, suspicion and clues and characters, in the middle of it. So, that's a great insight for, anyone who's
I think one thing that I'd like to add is that there's a lot more action requirement in films. Okay, so my book is basically meant for readers.
Yeah.
Readers are not looking so much for action. Readers are looking for being engrossed.
Correct.
They are trying to, understand various facets of the human mind, what is going on, that kind of a thing. Whereas in a film, in a series, you need to have a lot more action. I think that is one thing that was quite different. In the sense that I had to put in a lot more action.
You can't have people just thinking about their lives or reflecting.
No, forget about that. If I mention something like, for example, this person, the character in my book has murdered 8 people. Now, out of that, I had actually in the book, I've shown only 3 murders.
Right.
But in this web series, I had to show almost 6 of them.
Okay.
Because that's action was required.
More excitement and action required. Yeah. So there's clearly a huge difference between these two formats. But on that note, the Inspector Saralkar Murder Mysteries, we have the 5th book out. Would you like to share the little clip of that?
Absolutely. I'd like to unveil the cover. This morning I've already put it on social media. But my 5th book in the Inspector Saralkar series is The Kid Killer. And that is the cover. Yeah. It's going to be out in Jan 23. So it will be available on various platforms in the sense that and also at Crossword and other stores, that kind of thing.
So look out for it in the markets, in the shops.
So this is I think the 5th book in approximately 10 years. So I don't think it's a bad
that's a fairly
ratio,
good,
so to say, of the Inspector Saralkar series.
Of Inspector Saralkar.
And the thing is that what has helped is my book 3.5 Murders and Murder Milestone, both are bestsellers, which is very rare.
So that's why the fans are clamoring for your next book, right? So even if you churn them out faster, I don't think anyone will be objecting.
But I'm doubtful whether I can churn them out.
You need to maintain the quality and quantity as well.
True.
So I think it looks a very exciting, appropriately blood-spattered cover. I'm usually scared of these, but I still read them because I enjoy them too much.
Please do.
So, this thing, what I wanted to also ask you was, you have this successful series, but you've also written 4 fairly successful standalone books. For example, the one which is close to my heart because I have read it, and I was there when this happened, The Sane Psychopath, about this kind of bus driver who went insane. So it's based on a real incident, and you've sort of taken that and run with it.
Right.
And I found that one very interesting. But how different was it for you to write a series as compared to writing those standalone books? And of course, for us fans, are you planning to write any more such standalone books in the future?
Yeah, in fact, the thing is that the standalone books work as a change for me. The thing is that I can't keep on writing about Saralkar. There are other things which interest me.
You can take a break in between by writing.
There are other things which interest me. There are other formats that I'd like to experiment. And for example, The Sane Psychopath is something which is it's not a who done it or a why done it. It's basically a psychological thriller.
Yeah.
And that is what I decided to go ahead and do it. It's based on a true incident which happened in Pune in 2012.
Yeah.
And I was completely aghast by that incident. How can somebody just wake up one fine day, get into a bus and drive around and sort of smash everything in the way?
Yeah.
So I don't know how many of you remember this 2012 incident.
Yeah.
Lots of
That is
people.
very shocking.
10 people died, 70 people were injured and they were badly injured.
Yeah.
And almost 100 vehicles were damaged.
Yeah.
So the thing is, why has this been done?
Really insane
that,
level
that
of
was
damage.
the thing. That's why I've called the book The Sane Psychopath.
Yeah.
Other books, there's a book of short stories of mine called Lost Libido.
Yeah.
So that again has about 17 short stories, and they are of different genres. Some are crime, some is love, all kinds of stuff going on there.
Yeah, in one.
I am also currently writing something which is a standalone book, which is not a part of the Inspector Saralkar series. But the thing is, I generally tend not to talk about it till I'm at least halfway through, because only when I'm halfway through do I know that probably I'll complete this book, that kind of thing. So that's how it is.
You don't want to reveal more, and if you decide to abandon it halfway, then there'll be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange. Sane Psychopath took me about 5 years to write. It's my shortest book. 42,000 words, 45,000 words.
Yeah,
it's my shortest
it's quite
book,
slim. Yeah.
And it took me
Was that because of the research or because of the psychological aspect?
No, I didn't. I just couldn't get the treatment right.
Okay.
I didn't know how to, and you'll be surprised. The treatment worked for me when I wrote it in the form of a screenplay. I first wrote Sane Psychopath as a screenplay.
Oh, okay.
So that somehow worked. And then I converted it. I'd been to Denmark. I was selected for this fellowship, and I had a month. So I said, let me attempt this.
Right.
And it worked somehow. In the first 15 days, I knew that this is going to work. So it just sort of worked. But it's very strange in some ways.
That's fascinating. Yeah, because usually, converting it into completely different formats. I mean, people might expand a short story or reduce a novel to a story, but these two are completely different formats. But I think you're comfortable then in both.
Plus, I think what happens is how does it come to you? In the sense that many times you keep on wondering, how do I write this?
Yeah.
I mean, is this first of all, does this need a genre? Or is it not a genre specific thing? Do I need to treat it differently? That kind of thing. Yeah. For example, somebody asked me to write a love story. Very difficult for me to write a love story, and yet it's not so difficult.
Yeah.
But
it's not something
I need to. I've got a friend, a wonderful friend called Aditya Sharma, who wrote a love story, and 3 years he's written a fantastic love story. Yeah. But I'm sure I won't be able to write something like that.
Okay, on the note of detectives, so in the vein of Coffee with Karan, assume that I'm taking a rapid fire series of questions. So Poirot, Sherlock Holmes, Miss Marple, who's your favorite literary detective?
It has to be Sherlock Holmes. It has to be Sherlock Holmes, but I'll tell you my absolute favorite detective is Colin Dexter's
Inspector Morse.
Inspector Morse.
Yeah, that's a great one. One of my favorites too. Okay, do you write on a device or do you prefer to write with pen and paper?
Longhand. Longhand is my first preference for novels, and then after every 3 chapters I type it in, and that helps.
Okay. Outlining or not outlining? Do you outline your series?
I'm a plot-based writer, so I have to outline.
You have to outline.
I have to outline. I can change that outline along the way, but the thing is, without an outline, I don't know how to begin. How do I pace myself? How do I how do I give out information? That kind of a thing. I call it calibrated release of information. So how do I do that?
Do your outlines change much while you're writing?
They've changed in books. In certain books, there's always a lot of surprise element which comes, something which strikes you or something like that. But the general direction doesn't change.
Okay. And final question, the rapid fire is, if you were not a writer, what would you be?
I honestly don't know what to say. I have been lots of things in this life. I've been an advertising executive. So I've been a management filmmaker. And I've been a columnist
in newspapers,
for a long thing. But all of this is related to writing. So I really don't know what I would have been. Probably an actor.
An actor,
because I did pretty well at college and state level. I've won prizes at college and state level, but I never got around to doing it.
There's still a chance maybe in your own series if you want.
I mean, it's one of those things which a writer, I find it, I'm very
Hiring
shy
the
of
right
mentioning
word.
it to the
Actor.
producer.
Yeah.
"Humko bhi ek jara role de do," that kind of thing.